fix this stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off my voice and I'm gonna start and have the interpreting talk to you, okay?
Okay, good morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is, like she said, I'm Craig Rubenstein, and that's my name sign, CR over my heart. And I am the program manager for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing section, DHHS, and that's under Specialized Services Division, SSD. And we work with VRED staff who need guidance or assistance about deaf, hard of hearing, deaf-blind, and late deafened adults. One of the things that DHHS has done in the past was we went to visit all districts statewide, and it was a wonderful experience. We provided deaf sensitive training. And so we were very excited about that. And also, one other thing, we did this statewide. We have something called SB 105 training, and we have that every year. We provide different workshops, presentations, and things like that for our CDs, team managers, district administrators, all of the above. So now I'm going to present about my background. And as a deaf individual, I was born deaf. Don't know why, don't know what the cause was. And I grew up with a hearing family, and the method of communication was oral. We didn't use American Sign Language growing up at all. I did not use an ASL interpreter from kindergarten to 12th grade until I went to community college. And that was where I first realized there was an interpreter there. And that's the first time that I was exposed to that. I was a little bit hesitant. I was more oral. I depended on lip reading a lot. And so the interpreter was there, and it was a wonderful, really opened up my mind. And I thought, wow, I feel like a part of a group now. I can have a conversation. You know, mostly in high school, I sat very quietly and I had a note taker with me. So it was a great experience. From there, I started using ASL interpreters, which helped me understand what was going on in the classroom. And from there, I went to CSUN and I got my, it was the California State University of Northridge, that's CSUN. And I got my BA degree for Deaf Studies and Human Services. And before going to CSUN, I went to an out-of-state university and I got my master's in rehab counseling. And before I went to CSUN, I had applied for SSI to help me with my tuition fees. And I had used the Department of Rehab for my tuition fees, excuse me. And so if it wasn't for my friend letting me know about DOR, I never would have gone to college. So I'm grateful for that. And that really helped me through my education goals. And I'm extremely happy about that. So after I finished going to CSUN, I went to San Diego State University, SDU, and I got my master's in rehab counseling. I believe it was around, trying to remember, I can't remember. I think it was for about 10 years I was a counselor, and then I became a supervisor for the deaf unit. And that was one of the districts that we had down there. So the reason why I picked this field is because I really wanted to help clients reach their career goals and share my experience about what I had gone through and to let them know that they're not alone. They're not alone. And now I've worked for DOR for 27 years. And now there's more and more services out there that can assist the clients. I really wish that there had been more services out there to support us, you know, and I had no idea about all those services. I wish I had benefit planning to more that what I understand now and how it would impact my SSI as I worked. So it was very important to me, you know, and I can't live without that. I learned the hard way myself to figure out what was going on. And I really wish that this program had been available back in that time. That was 1994, 95. But it took months to figure it out. And then where DOR came in, they had the work incentive planning. And I really wish I had that too at that time. It would have helped me make decisions in which avenue to go through. And, you know, with my Social Security. So now I am so happy that we have two services that are offered through the Department of Rehab and for our individual consumers. I really hope you all have a great day, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the presentation. Thank you for having me here, and have a wonderful day.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing your story, Craig. I know we're thrilled that this journey led you to the Department of Rehabilitation. And just imagine the lives that you have changed working with our deaf, hard of hearing community. So thank you so much for sharing your story. Okay.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
You have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
Okay. Now I have the pleasure of introducing our main speakers today, both of whom specialize in work incentive planning. Michaela DuPont is an area work incentive coordinator. We call her an AWIC with the Disability Resources Agency for Independent Living, known as DRAIL. And we are excited that Christina Dodson is joining her. She is a Department of Rehabilitation work incentive planner. They are both dedicated to helping individuals receiving Social Security benefits to understand the potential impact of working on those benefits, kind of really helping them to see what that path forward may look like beyond the reliance on those monthly benefits alone. Okay, and so with that, I'd like to pass things over to Michaela and Christina.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Patricia. We are very excited to be able to join everybody today and talk about the wonderful world of benefits planning and work incentives. I'm going to get us started here by sharing my screen for our PowerPoint presentation for today. And I think we're ready to jump right into it and get started. So for our goals for today, we want to start by reviewing the objectives for the training and kind of what you can expect to come away with this training. So after today's training, number one, you will have a better understanding about Social Security benefits and work incentives. You will understand benefits planning services in California, learn about the referral process and benefits to clients and to DOR. And we're going to gain knowledge about the resources for work incentives planning and what some of those options are as you're looking for your next employment and vocational goals.
Social Security disability benefits are paid through two different programs. We have an SSI and we have an SSDI, also known as Title II disability benefits. They are included with childhood disability benefits and disabled worker, widower benefits. Those two types included in the SSDI is known as Title II. They both have very similar work incentives information that work the same.
So we can get started with the SSI program, also known as Supplemental Security Income. So the SSI program, Supplemental Security Income, this is a needs-based benefit program that's available to individuals with a qualifying disability who have lower income and resources. So this is what we call a means tested benefit. It means that there are resource and income limits that can affect eligibility and payment. So when we're talking resource limit, first of all, the resource limit for this program is $2,000 for a qualifying individual and $3,000 for an eligible couple. So the resource limit includes the value of certain assets such as cash or money in a checking or savings account, the value of additional vehicles, real estate, things like that, and more. But that's just some examples of some common types of assets. So the value of one primary vehicle that you use as your primary transportation and the primary home you live in, those are not counted as part of the resource limit that we're talking about here. So SSI benefits are affected by both earned income, which is money from employment or self-employment, and unearned income, which is money that doesn't come from work. So we're talking here about money that you may get from certain other programs, like maybe a pension or a private retirement policy, or the value of other assistance that you may get with primarily your housing and food expenses. That can also affect the SSI payment as well. So in our state of California, the SSI payment that you may receive every month is actually made up of two parts. There's a federal portion paid by Social Security, and there is a portion that comes from the state of California. So we have those two components that are making up the entire SSI benefit. And there are maximum payment rates depending upon your eligible payment category. So the payment categories vary based on age. The payment standards for minors are different than the payments for adults on SSI. And it can also be affected by things like your marital status, if you are married and both of you are eligible for SSI, or your living arrangement. If you're getting assistance with food and housing, then that can affect the maximum rate as well. But SSI has maximum payment standards depending on the eligibility category that you're getting plugged into. So in addition, speaking of minors, one thing to keep it in mind as well is beneficiaries who are receiving SSI prior to the age of 18 will have to undergo something called an age 18 redetermination once they hit that 18th birthday. And the reason for this is because the disability standards that are used to decide disability for children are different than the standards that are used to decide disability for adults. So that they will undergo that age 18 redetermination to get you evaluated for the adult standards. That's a very normal and healthy process that will happen if you're receiving SSI as a minor first.
In contrast to SSI, there's also Social Security Disability Insurance, or SSDI. Unlike SSI, SSDI is an insurance program, meaning you must be fully insured under Social Security to qualify. This means in addition to having a qualifying disability, you must have earned enough work credits through paying Social Security taxes when you work to become eligible. Because SSDI is an insurance-based program, there is no resource limit like there is with SSI, and many resources of unearned income do not have an impact on the benefit as well. It is important to note that SSDI is not the same as SDI. SDI stands for State Disability Insurance and is a state-run short-term disability program not administered by Social Security Administration. Although they have similar acronyms, they are not the same and do not have the same rules when it comes to how work might impact that benefit.
So we're going to get started by talking about how work affects SSI benefits and the work incentives that are available to help individuals with disabilities who are pursuing employment. So SSI and employment in a nutshell. At the most basic level, when determining your SSI payment, Social Security does not count the first $20 of other income you receive, which could be unearned or earned income, depending on your situation. Social Security will also subtract up to the first $65 of earned income from work, which could be employment or self-employment. Social Security will then divide that remaining balance in half when determining the amount of the income that they will count and adjusting your SSI benefit. So this means that Social Security actually looks at a little bit less than half of your work income in making your payment adjustment decisions with SSI. Your SSI payment is gradually reduced as your income from work increases. That's another way to think about it. Now, if we stop there, that can feel a little scary if we're talking that the benefit may change. However, you got to remember, even though the SSI benefit may be decreasing with work income, remember that it's only because you have this new source of other income from work. You have more money coming in. So your income from work plus your reduced SSI benefit will almost always be more than your SSI benefit by itself, even if you are earning enough from work to reduce your SSI payment all the way to $0. So at the most basic level, Social Security will make these initial deductions, look at less than half. And with this calculation and how it's set up, working will always help you get ahead financially. Oh, my apologies. Skipped ahead there for a minute. Okay, so for the SSI work incentives, we do have some additional work incentives that apply to the SSI program that further support SSI beneficiaries who are working. So the first one that we are going to talk about is called the Student Earned Income Exclusion. And sometimes you will see just the acronym, which is SEIE. So this is a super special work incentive that is available to individuals who are under the age of 22 and who are regularly attending school. Now, typically, regularly attending school includes those individuals who are still in high school for at least 12 hours per week, or those who are in a college or a university setting for at least 8 hours per week. Participation in certain other types of training courses or in homeschool for at least 12 hours per week can also qualify as part of these minimum requirements. Sometimes these guidelines can be modified if you are not able to meet that minimum weekly hour requirement due to factors beyond your control, such as illness. So if you have a medical condition or if you have a circumstance that prevents you from being able to meet these minimum hour standards for participation in school activities, it can be possible to have those modified based on your individual circumstances where this may still apply. So the Student Earned Income Exclusion is a powerful incentive that allows our students who meet these qualifications to have up to $2,290 of earned income per month, up to the annual total of $9,230 per month, completely excluded. So this means that SSI will not count this excluded income in calculating your adjusted SSI payment. Ultimately, this means that you may be able to keep more of your SSI payment while working. So this can really help you to maximize your financial outcome, potentially even save extra income while you are in school and working and preparing for that transition after school as well. So again, student exclusion, if you meet those requirements to be considered a student under age 22 and regularly in school, you can work, and your income up to those monthly and annual guidelines can be excluded, which can really maximize that financial outcome for you. Another great work incentive is called impairment-related work expenses. We affectionately know it as IRWE. So sometimes we have funny names for things. We call it IRWE. So impairment-related work expenses allow for individuals to have certain disability and work-related expenses considered in calculating the countable earned and countable earned income and SSI payment. So for an expense to qualify as an impairment-related work expense, there are some factors that must be met. So the item or service that is purchased, number one, must be directly related to helping the individual go to work. So it can't be any expense that you may incur. It has to be something that you are paying for that is directly related to your work effort. It also must be needed by the individual to work because of the physical or the mental impairment. So the expense must be related to work and related to the disability. It also must be paid by the individual and not reimbursed from other sources. So if you are the one paying for this expense, that can count as an IRWI deduction. But if this is an expense that ultimately is going to be paid by another source, for example, the Department of Rehabilitation or maybe an insurance policy, those expenses that you aren't paying for won't count. For an IRWI to qualify, you also must pay for the expense in a month that you are working, with some exceptions, and the expense must be reasonable. So ultimately, these expenses that we're talking about here are related to your health and related to your work effort, and you have to pay for these expenses yourself in order to maintain and continue employment. So when you have an expense that meets that criteria, Social Security can deduct the value of those items or services from the earned income from work that they're evaluating. So that means that Social Security may look at even less of your earned income when they're making payment adjustments after factoring in these additional expenses that you may have. Ultimately, sometimes this can increase your SSI cash payment when we factor in this additional deduction. So some examples of potential impairment-related work expenses can be paratransit costs to get to and from work if you require specialized transportation. Also the cost of medication that you may need to take that allows you to continue working and be able to work. That is a very common impairment expense. But please know that there is no exhaustive list of impairment expenses. So what I mean by that is it can be very individualized. There can be very unique and special circumstances that apply to people where you may have an expense that is very relevant to your disability and your work effort that can qualify. So there's not like a master list of these are the only items that you can deduct. It can be a very individual decision too, but that's the main thing we're looking for first. You're paying for it, it's related to your disability of record, and it is something that's related to your work effort. Okay. It is also good to note that the impairment expenses can be considered a deduction from earned income during the initial SSI application process as well. So this can help some individuals meet the income requirements to become initially entitled to SSI benefits if you are working and you are applying for SSI while you are working. This deduction can be factored in at that time as well. So blind work expenses, this is another one we call BWE often. So blind work expenses allow for individuals who are considered statutorily blind by Social Security standards to deduct costs that they may incur that are related to the work efforts, but they do not have to be directly related to the disability. So unlike those impairment-related work expenses that we just talked about, blind work expenses do not need to be related to the disability on record, which would be blindness in this case. So the expense just needs to be related to the work effort itself. This means that additional costs can be considered, such as the cost of meals eaten at work, the cost of work clothing, transportation, and even payroll taxes can be deducted as blind work expenses. So these deductions will reduce the amount of earned income that Social Security will consider when calculating the SSI benefit payment adjustments when you're working. And because you are able to deduct so many more things, when you're able to use the blind work expenses, you often qualify for higher deductions, which can mean a higher cash payment from SSI as well. And by higher cash payment, I mean up to those maximum limits that we were talking about before, not an increase. So sometimes when we're talking about work, health insurance is just as, if not more important than your cash benefits. Social Security understands that maintaining your health insurance helps you access your doctors and your medical supports, and that's a critical part of managing your health, which ultimately is going to help you be able to work. So there is a fantastic work incentive called 1619B. And this work incentive says that even if your earnings from work cause your SSI cash payments to reduce all the way to $0, this special provision allows you to keep your Medi-Cal benefits as long as you meet these criteria here, which is number one, you continue to have a disability. Number two, you expect to use Medi-Cal within a 12-month time frame, or if you had an unexpected medical expense come up, you would need to use it then. You have to have annual earnings below the current threshold amount, which for this year is $58,638 in California. And you must continue to meet all of the other SSI requirements, which can include resource and the unearned income that we were talking about earlier. So finally, to qualify for this extended Medi-Cal coverage, your SSI cash payment must have stopped due to work income and not due to other factors. So if your SSI payment stopped because you were over the resource limit, for example, that's not going to qualify for this 1619B extended Medi-Cal coverage. This is a work incentive, which means if work income is what made your SSI cash payment stop, this is a way to maintain your health insurance. Another great attribute of this is that this is an indefinite. So as long as you continue to meet these criteria that we have here, then you can continue to access this indefinitely, even if it's 10 years, 15 years, doesn't matter. It's an ongoing process. So those are, just to summarize, the key points here. You must still have a disability. You must either have used Medi-Cal, are currently using Medi-Cal, or would use it if there was an unexpected expense. That's that need or use test. Must have those annual earnings below the threshold, and you must continue to meet the other SSI requirements as well. The annual threshold, at times, there can be an individual threshold set as well. So in some cases, if you have significant health costs and you were earning money from work more than this $58,638 for this year, in some cases, Social Security can issue something called an individualized threshold, where your unique number based on your health costs may be higher than this general guideline. So that's something that we would take a look at as well. If you are working and earning more than this, we can have that conversation and see if that's something that could apply to you as well. One thing I want to note too, on the screen, we have Medicaid, and you will quite frequently see Medicaid referenced in a lot of different materials that may be related to your benefits. Medicaid is just the federal name for Medi-Cal. So whenever you see the term Medicaid, know this is referring to Medi-Cal for us here in California. So plans to achieve self-support, or PASS, This is one of my personal favorite work incentives because when this qualifies and when this is something we can do, it's pretty cool and can help people do some pretty amazing things. So the Plan to Achieve Self-Support or PASS program is a truly powerful tool that can help qualified individuals access the items or services that they may need in order to obtain, maintain, or progress in employment. So essentially, PASS allows a person with a disability to set aside income or resources that would normally affect the SSI payment for a specific amount of time in order to attain a specific work goal that you may have. So with this, while you are using the income or the resources that would normally affect your SSI payment, while you're using that money to work on and pay for the items and services that are approved in your plan, Social Security will not count this income in adjusting your monthly SSI payment or in determining your SSI eligibility if you're a Title II beneficiary that's looking to use PASS. This is a program of the SSI. This is a work incentive of the SSI program. So that's why that also would apply then too. So while you're using your resources or your other income to pay for these items and services, this could allow you to keep more of your SSI payment to meet your living expenses while you're using that other countable income or resource to meet and pay for the things you need to achieve your approved job goal and plan. So remember too, we're not talking here that you're going to get a higher benefit or more money from this. What PASS is letting you do is that amount of money that normally would lower your SSI payment. This is essentially allowing you to use that to pay for your work goals. Social Security would give you the SSI that you would normally be entitled to otherwise to pay for your living expenses while you are. So a PASS starts with completing and submitting Form SSA 545. So on this form, an individual needs to start with having a reasonable and a feasible job goal. So that's the number one. You have to identify what is it that you're going to achieve at the end of this plan. What's the job? What business are you going to start? What is it that you're looking to achieve? You also need to specify the time frame that it will be estimated to take to achieve whatever that goal is. Then we need to identify the specific steps that are needed in order to achieve that job goal. So this includes listing out the specific items and services that you may need to reach the goal. So the job goal either needs to significantly reduce SSI benefits or lead to SGA level employment if you are Title II. And it's important to note, PASS will not affect SGA determinations for Title II beneficiaries that are approved to use this work incentive. The initial PASS will be approved for no more than 18 months, and Social Security will periodically review these plans to make sure that the milestones are being met and you're buying things in accordance with the plan. As you continue in the plan, these can be modified, these can be amended if things change or come up. But those normal reviews that happen are normal, and Social Security there's a PASS specialist that will work with you to make sure you're meeting those goals.
So what resources are available for the beneficiaries that do receive the SSDI? Well, don't you worry. We will be covering that today as well. So let's switch gears and now move into how future earnings from work might impact SSDI benefits and talk about some of the great work incentives available for this program as well. It is important to remember that the SSI and the SSDI programs and how earnings might impact the benefit are very different. So many of the work incentives we will be discussing in this section of the presentation applies only to the SSDI. Employment and SSDI disability benefits. Like SSI, SSDI has its own set of work incentives. These special work incentives can help you receive your SSDI even when you work and make sure you have the support of SSDI in months that you need it. For the SSDI program, Social Security uses substantial gainful activity level, or the acronym is also very used commonly is SGA. You'll find that Social Security uses a lot of acronyms to sum up a lot of the technical information, but it is repetitive and you'll start learning the acronyms and the meaning the more you're using the programs. To determine the months that an SSDI beneficiary is considered earning substantial earnings from employment, in 2024, the SGA for a non-blind beneficiary is $1,550 in gross earnings per month. If you have a disability of statutory blindness, that SGA rises to $2,590 in gross earnings per month, a big difference between the SSI and the SSDI programs. There is no gradual reduction of benefits payments based on your earning. It is really on all or nothing programs, so you can receive your full SSDI payment or you won't receive it at all. This all depends on where you are in your SSDI work incentives, which we will discuss in the next slide. In the SSDI program, the primary work incentive available comes in phases, meaning you must complete one phase of the work incentives before you can move on to the next phase. Each phase provides variable levying of protections from the loss of benefit or provides a way that a beneficiary can get their benefits back when needed. The phases include the trial work period, known as TWP, an extended period of eligibility, and expedited reinstatement. There are also some additional work incentives such as cessation and grace period, and extended period of Medicare coverage that also provides varying levels of protection from loss of benefits for an SSDI beneficiary. So let's discuss phase 1, the trial work incentive period. The first phase of the SSDI work incentive is the trial work period, or TWP for short. The TWP is a powerful work incentive because it allows the beneficiary to receive their full SSDI cash payment no matter how much money they earn from employment. So you can make $1 or you can make $10,000 a month. It doesn't matter in that 1 month what your gross earned income is, you would be entitled to receive your SSDI payment. The TWP lasts 9 months that do not necessarily have to be used consecutively. They can be used until 9 months are completed within a 5-year period. To use a TWP month, a beneficiary must earn over the TWP level, which in this year, 2024, is $1,110 for all SSDI Title II beneficiaries. If you are self-employed, Social Security will also consider any months in which 80 or more hours are deducted to work within that self-employment as a trial work period month as well. For those on SSDI who have worked since they first received their SSDI benefits, you may have already used some or all of your trial work period months. So it's really important to identify where you stand in the SSDI work incentive phases so you can make an informed choice when you choose to seek employment in the future. Now I'm going to discuss the extended period of eligibility. The acronym is an EPE. Once the 9th trial work period month is completed, the first phase of the work incentives for Title II, known as SSDI, is finished, and you move on to phase 2, called the extended period of eligibility. The EPE also starts the month after the 9th trial work period was used. So in other words, the EPE will not start until all 9 months of the trial work has been completed and used up. If the 9th, so for example, the 9-month trial work period was in March of 2024, the EPE will begin in April of 2024. So it's moves right into the next phase. The EP lasts for a consecutive 36 months, where Social Security will provide you with your SSDI cash payment in any months you are not able to sustain the substantial gainful activity or SGA levels of earning. Like I had mentioned earlier, the SGA is what Social Security uses to determine if an SSDI beneficiary earnings from employment are considered substantial in the eyes of Social Security. In 2024, the SGA is $1,550 for non-blind individuals and $2,590 for blind individuals. On a very basic level, if you earn over the SGA in any month during the EPE, you will not receive your Title II / SSDI cash benefit. For any month's earning are below SGA, you'll receive your full SSDI cash benefit. It is important to note that Social Security compares the SGA to your countable gross earnings, meaning total earnings you receive from employment before tax and other deductions. The EPE makes sure that you can try out employment, and if you are not able to sustain substantial earnings, you can continue to receive your full SSDI cash benefit. This sort of acts as a safety net for those trying to become financially independent. Allowing SSDI beneficiaries to try to work out and get their cash benefits when needed. The only exception to this rule during the EPE is the first time you earn and are able to sustain your earnings above the SGA. When you earn over the SGA for the first time, this triggers what is called the cessation and grace month period, and this will allow you to receive your full SSDI check for 3 months, even when you're earning above the SGA. Once this has completed, then the normal EPE rules apply. It is important to note that Social Security is one that will determine if you are earning over the SGA or not. So it is of utmost importance that you report your earnings from employment to Social Security each month so they can accurately provide you with SSDI payments when you are eligible. So in other words, if you don't report your Social Security to Social Security, your wages, what could possibly happen is that you could receive a payment of your benefit that you're probably not entitled to, and it could create an overpayment. And that means that you would be required to pay that back. So it's very important that as soon as you start work and you start having earned income, that you start sending in those paychecks to Social Security and reporting that income right away, so there is no overpayment and you won't be caught with that possibility of having that happen. So these are the 2 phases of the SSDI work incentives. The main takeaway is that you can try out work and work towards financial independence while still receiving your full SSDI payment for a time and having a safety net if the employment doesn't work out. During all of this time, whether you are receiving the SSDI cash payment or not, you are still able to receive your Medicare during all of these work incentive phases and beyond. There are also so many ways to lower the amount of your gross income that Social Security will count when determining if an SSDI beneficiary is earning above the SGA, which I will talk about in the next slide, please. When Social Security is making a decision whether your earnings from employment are at the SGA level, there are ways that you can reduce the amount of your earnings that are counted based on your employment situation. If there are a variety of expenses that you pay for that are related to your disability and you need them to work, you can claim those expenses to reduce the amount of your earned income that is counted when making SGA determination. Many expenses can be considered an IRWI, an impaired related work expense, which we talked about in the SSI portion. You can discuss deducting the medication, co-pays, attendant care services, home or vehicle modification, and much, much more. If you can show that an expense is paid out of pocket related to your disability and needed for work, it can likely be considered an IRWI as discussed previously. Subsidy and special conditions are any extra support provided to the SSDI beneficiary by either the employer or a third party, such as the vocational rehab program. Social Security will exclude a part of your income for any extra help or support you receive that someone in the same position might not receive. Examples of this could be job coaching, being allowed extra breaks due to your disability, excluding certain tasks commonly done in that job role, or anything that is provided to help you with your work. Averaging is another work incentive where if you are consistently earning right above and right below the SGA level, Social Security may average your earnings over a period of time to determine if your average earnings each month are below the SGA, even when you have had a number of months earning above the SGA. This can be great as it can give you another chance at utilizing the cessation and grace period and ultimately allow you more months in which you can receive your SSDI cash payment. The main takeaway from this slide is there are many work incentives available not only to help you retain your SSDI benefits, but to also lower your countable income and allow you to receive your SSDI cash payments for longer. Depending on your situation, these work incentives may or may not apply to you, and that is really why it is important to be informed that these work incentives are not automatically applied by Social Security. It is up to you as the beneficiary to determine if these may apply to you and submit the appropriate information to Social Security on a monthly basis. Now, this may seem like a daunting task as we covered a lot of information. The good news is when you do not have to go about figuring out how work might impact your benefits or what work incentives apply to you alone, there are supporters available to you in your community to help you better understand these resources and get the information you need to assess these work incentives.
So there are reasons why work incentives planning is so important for the SSI and the SSDI clients that we serve. Consider the fact that nationally, millions of supplemental security income, or SSI, and Social Security Disability Insurance, or SSDI, beneficiaries are currently living below the poverty level. The Vocational Rehabilitation and Work Incentives Planning and Assistance, or WIPA programs, are an important part of our national effort to break the connection between poverty and disability, as we both seek to promote employment, independence, and equality for Social Security disability beneficiaries. Work incentives planning supports informed choice and empowers SSI and SSDI beneficiaries with options to make the shift from being dependent on benefits entirely to being independent and supporting oneself by working. The return to work success rates for our shared clients increase when rehabilitation services and work incentives planning is braided and done in coordination. So since we've kind of started the conversation about what some of the work incentives and options are, let's start talking a little bit more about who we are and how you can access us and get support for your situation. So starting with the Work Incentives Planning and Assistance, or WIPA, W-I-P-A program, which is a program that I'm with. So WIPA's mission is to promote employment and financial independence more than anything. WIPA's funding began way back in 1999 with the Ticket to Work legislation that was signed by President Clinton. There was testimony to Congress at this time by Social Security beneficiaries who were fearful of working because they were fearful of losing their cash benefit to pay for their living expenses and or their healthcare benefits that were managing their health. Ticket to Work allowed funding community organizations to provide benefits counseling to try to help break these myths and these fears that we still hear of. So WIPA services are provided by Community Work Incentives Coordinators, or CWICs, which is what I am. And we are available nationwide and in the US territories. So no matter where you live, you can access a WIPA project for your area and to get information about your Social Security benefits, but also your state or local public benefits as well. So we do comprehensive benefits planning. I like to give the example a lot. It's great to know what's going to happen to your SSI, but what if you weren't expecting this shift in your CalFresh or your housing? We offer comprehensive support. The main thing we talk about is Social Security, but we want to look at your entire benefits picture as well. So we do individualized support. We help you understand the programs that could apply to you. We also help you access work incentives and programs to support your efforts, such as PASS, which we talked about earlier, Ticket to Work employment supports, claiming those impairment-related work expenses, or accessing different forms of even Medi-Cal and health coverage, such as a big one, the Working Disabled program that we use a lot. And we also encourage you and help you understand your reporting requirements, how to do that so it decreases those overpayments that Christina talked about a little bit earlier. So the Ticket to Work helpline is one of the main ways that individuals who are interested in receiving benefits counseling from WIPA can get over to the WIPA projects as priority referrals. So in December of 2023, just a few months ago, the criteria for a referral to the WIPA programs that is coming from the helpline did change a little bit. So if you call the Ticket to Work helpline and you are interested in accessing services, you will be referred to your WIPA project if you are currently working or self-employed, if you have a pending job offer that you're making a decision on, or if you are younger than age 18, regardless of work status, and you haven't yet had that age 18 redetermination. So this doesn't change who we serve. Our fundamental criteria is you are between the ages of 14 and full retirement age and receiving a Social Security benefit based on disability, one of the disability programs. That's our fundamental eligibility criteria. So this does not affect who we can serve or any agreements that your local project may have with other community supports as well. But if you call the helpline, this is the current criteria for getting that direct referral to your project. So this is a map of the state of California that is color coded for to show the geographic regions of the 7 work incentives planning and assistance or WIPA projects that serve the state of California. So the specific WIPA project that I'm with is in the Central Valley. It is the green region, if with the map we have up here, the Disability Resources Agency for Independent Living, or DRAIL. But we have phenomenal WIPA projects up and down the state. So regardless of the county you live in, we have Pride Industries, Center for Independence of Individuals with Disabilities, Project Independence, Disability Rights California, Managed Career Solutions, Economic Development, and Managed Career Solutions, Social Purpose. So these are the 7 that you may be referred to, depending on the county that you live in. And again, if you're not certain how to get started, that Ticket to Work helpline is a great number to call. They'll give you a priority referral if you meet that criteria, but even if you just have basic questions or just want some general info, they'll be able to get you that information as well.
Department of Rehabilitation also has a benefits planning program that is available statewide at all Department of Rehabilitation field office locations. We currently have roughly 35 certified work planners or WIPs across the state that can help you better understand your benefits when you're ready to seek employment. The WIP program can help explain how you can use work incentives to transition to successful employment, explain how you can use benefits management tools to understand and calculate your future income, provide resources and referrals to connect you to supports in your community, and much more. WIP services acts as a complementary service to the many employment supports we offer to ensure you have all the support needed, to make an informed choice in obtaining employment. Both WIPAs and CWICs assist with SSI, SSDI, and much more in understanding the impact of employment on cash and health benefits. Work incentives can be complex, and wage reporting is critical to prevent overpayments, to decrease fears and empower clients receiving SSI and SSDI to go to work. Both WIPs and CWICs provide one-on-one work incentive planning on Social Security, Medicare, Medi-Cal, housing, CalFresh, veterans benefits, and other benefit programs. Create a written analysis on the impact of earnings on benefits, such as benefits planning and analysis, a guide and assist with work incentive utilization, wage reporting, financial literacy, and benefits management. Provide work incentive plans that is a checklist for action steps for the client. Both WIPs and CWICs do outreach and presentation to service providers, clients and families, and students. Provide information and referrals. WIPAs can provide ongoing support to SSI, SSDI beneficiaries following DOR closure. In other words, if you have an open case with the Department of Rehabilitation, once your case is closed, we refer you to DRAIL, and they will continue to help. Currently, there are 7 different WIPA projects serving various regions of California and over 74 WIPAs nationwide. WIPAs can assist beneficiaries who are working, have a job, over pending, or have an interview pending and are within their service region. DOR WIPs can work with beneficiaries with an open door case and are actively seeking employment or currently employed. DOR Work Incentives Planner can work with beneficiaries up until case closure, which typically occurs after 90 days of successful employment and no other services or supports are needed. In cases where a DOR case is closed and ongoing, benefits planning services are desired, beneficiaries can continue to receive ongoing services from their local WIP project, known as DRAIL, and can continue to receive services regarding the length of employment.
So we want to definitely make sure we have time for Q&A. I see some in the chat. So I want to just kind of quickly go over some of that referral process between the programs. So one thing that is great, Christina and I are actually in the same geographic region. So we've worked together for many, many years, but your DOR WIPs and your WIPA projects work collaboratively throughout the state. So with the referral process, we want to make sure there is seamless and continuous planning for people who are transitioning to and from the WIPA and the DOR. So WIPA clients who are referred to DOR are encouraged to continue receiving services from the WIPA project if they already have that relationship with their local WIPA. Whenever there is a referral happening, if services have been provided by one agency or the other, they will be given a resource packet. The individual will be given that to share with their new provider if that transition is happening. For DOR clients who aren't eligible for WIP services, they can access services from the WIPA project. And at the time of case closure, like Christina mentioned, that's also a time when DOR clients can transition to WIPA for long-term services. Ultimately, the choice to be served by WIP or WIPA is always the choice of the individual, but we work collaboratively to make sure that your services continue seamlessly through. The resource packet I mentioned would just contain the contact information for either your WIP or your WIPA project. So depending on who you started with and where you're going, we'll give you the information for the provider that you need to contact. We'll give you fact sheets and brochures, either for DOR services or WIPA. We will also provide you with your most recent benefits planning query, which is a fancy verification letter from Social Security that has some good information on it about your benefits. And if available, we'll also give you that copy of your benefit summary and analysis and your plan that we made with your work incentives that you can share with your other provider as well to make sure that your services continue from there. So whenever you are referred to a DOR WIP or a WIPA CWIC, we're going to need similar things to be able to help you. So please be prepared to provide recent pay stubs so we have an idea of what your earnings are and how these rules may apply to you. Any recent letters from Social Security that you may need help going over, wage reporting forms that you may have already submitted to Social Security and information that you may have already provided there, and any information about the other benefits you receive like Medi-Cal, CalFresh, CalWorks, so we can make sure that we're giving you that comprehensive advisement that we talked about earlier.
Now I'd like to share some additional resources that you all can utilize to get more information on your benefits, work incentives, benefits planning services, and employment supports at your own pace. I recommend checking out the Social Security website at SSA.gov. It's a standard federal website. You can do many things on this website. You can create your own page. You can look at your own benefit. You can look at retirement benefit. There's so much to do at SSA.gov that opens up a whole new world of information. So if you don't know about it, haven't created an account, I would suggest to everyone that you do. Also on Social Security, there is a red book. It's called a red book. It usually was a hard copy and it came out red. And everything that we've discussed here is outlined in the red book for the SSI and the SSDI work incentives planning information. I highly recommend checking out Disability Benefits 101. It's called db101.org. It's listed right on the screen. There's the web link. Type that in and it's scenarios of working, going to school, SSI, Medicare, Medi-Cal. You can save it. You can delete it and start all over. It is a great tool to utilize if you want to have an idea of what you're looking at for benefits. I would definitely use that. Things change. You get a COLA every year. So you can make those adjustments moving forward. The Social Security Administration also has a Ticket to Work helpline available for SSI and SSDI beneficiaries with questions and concerns relating to Social Security work incentives and Ticket to Work. The Ticket to Work can help also clients find Ticket to Work service providers, including VR agencies. If they have additional questions, they can certainly give us a call.
And that's it for our formal presentation. We have some time for questions. I wanted to start by just answering one quick clarification question that popped up on my end also. With that PASS program that we talked about, that is a work incentive of the SSI program. So if you do not receive SSI and you receive SSDI, it can be possible to use PASS, but you would have to get SSI eligibility through it, which means you would have to meet those resource requirements and the other income requirements as well. So it is an SSI work incentive, but if you have a different situation, we can kind of look at that and see if you might qualify or if that's something that could be available to you. So I just wanted to clarify that one that popped up on my end, but otherwise I will turn it over to Patricia, and I think we just have general questions.
Oh, thank you so much, Michaela and Christina. You shared some really great information today. And I think the takeaway for our participants is that if you're receiving SSI or SSDI, you are not on this journey alone, right? The whole key to the Ticket to Work program just lies in connecting with all of these great resources that can help you along the way. Let's go ahead and open it up for questions. And we do have a few questions. So what the first question is, how do I know if I'm still in a Ticket to Work program? If I started in 2018, but COVID interrupted my classes?
I can answer that. If you are receiving SSI or SSDI, the chances are you're still in a Ticket to Work program. If you'd like to verify that, you can call Ticket to Work. And you can call them and they provide the 800 number and you would be able to verify that. And then if you would like to sign up for VR, which would be a vocab, which is me through DOR, you can assign the ticket at the time that you're speaking to them and then contact us, or you can choose an employment network, which would be Drail. And at that time, you can choose to sign up for Drail and then you contact Drail. And then that way you've handled two things at the same time. One, you verified a ticket and you've also assigned the ticket. And then you made the proactive phone call to get signed up through a vocational rehab or an employment network.
Great. All right. So it looks like maybe we have a participant who never received a resource packet. What can you recommend, Michaela, for her to do? What next step to take?
Yes, so I apologize if you did not have a resource packet there that we had talked about in today's presentation, but what I would like to recommend, connect with the individual that you were originally working with. So if you were originally working with DOR and a WIP, or if you were originally working with your WIPA project, I assure you that we have your stuff, we have the things that we were working on together. So just reach out to that provider that you were originally connected with, and we can absolutely get you copies of what you need or make sure that you know where to go from here. One thing I also want to mention is if you need to start brand new services, if it's been a little bit, you don't remember who your provider was, or it's been some time since you were connected with the program, regardless if you're going to work with a DOR WIP or a WIPA project, we can get you set up all over again, picking up where you are now. So if you're not sure who you're working with or what the program was, if it's been a bit, we can get you set up for services moving forward as well. So those would be my two recommendations.
Excellent. All right, so moving on to the next question. Can you continue Medicare indefinitely under SSDI, like the SSI Medicaid program?
I think that's a tricky question. I think that when you're in SSDI and you have an earned income, there's threshold income, so it changes. And so under 250 program, that's a possibility. I think if you're working and you're up to 93 months, you're entitled to it. So it just, and if you stay below SGA, so there's a lot of factors, I think, in that answer. I think that that would be more of a one-on-one specific topic to work as you start working and making earned income to specifically get into the in-depths of that. There's a lot of caveats to that.
So working with a benefits planner might help you to better understand what that picture looks like long-term for your healthcare coverage. Okay. And can I call the ticket to work even if I already have a job?
Yes, please. We want to help you. We want to work with you. If you are currently working, let's make sure you know what's happening with your benefits. Absolutely. Reach out to us.
And last question as we wrap up. So to get benefits planning services, contact the Ticket to Work or DOR if you're already a client. Absolutely. Yes. The Ticket to Work website can help you connect with a WIPA in your community, or if you're receiving services through the Department of Rehabilitation currently, you can ask your counselor for a referral to meet with one of the work incentive planners.